In 1998, a man named Robert Allen published a book called Multiple Streams of Income. A few years later, he created a companion book that was released, which was called Multiple Streams of Internet Income. Now, these two books had tremendous impact on me as a fresh out of residency physician. They taught me about getting out of that scarcity thinking. If I can just have one good job, find that job, do everything I'm told, I'll be happy for life. Now, if I don't do everything I can to keep that job, I'll be a failure. Today, I'll be interviewing a nephrologist who also throws out that old, conventional, self sabotage thinking about just having one job, one income stream. And she wants to tell you that we're really living in the age of abundance. And now it's even more important for you to build multiple streams of income. Let's talk about the abundant mindset on this episode of BootstrapMD. Welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Mike Wu Ming with BootstrapMD. I love when I hear that physicians are actually not only out there and they're actually, watching the podcast, but actually, more importantly, they're implementing some of the things that we're teaching them. And I really have the pleasure today of interviewing a really up-and-coming physician entrepreneur. I've seen her on the forums, and we have some mutual friends. So this is actually the first time I've actually got to speak live, and I'm really, really excited. And today, who we have today is Nana Korsah. She's a former nephrologist turned Locum's hospitalist. She's board certified in internal medicine. And she is a proponent of multiple streams of income, which is like dear to my heart. She has a side gig as a telemedicine physician. She's a certified life and financial coach for physicians who want to pay off debt. And do doctors have debt? Yeah, I guess they do. You're right. We'll talk about that. And they live wealthy lives quicker. She helps physicians who want to enjoy the lives. They sacrifice so much. Great, that's so true. And they don't know where to start. She helps them build wealth and say yes to the lives they want. So I'm really excited to have her on the program. Dr. Nana Korsah, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is really exciting because I've been cyber stalking you for a while. So great.
Okay. That's okay. We'll let the restraining order go. No. But you have been, it's really a unique story. I like to say in my podcast, I love to hear about the secret origins of like comic book superheroes and, how did they get started? And I know in medical school, you didn't set out to become a wealth and financial life coach. So how did you get started in this whole entrepreneurship life that you live today?
So it all started with me feeling burned out. 4 years ago, I was that busy physician mom that was a partner in a nephrology practice. I was working 100-hour work weeks in rural Indiana, sometimes rounding in 2 dialysis units, clinic, 2 different hospitals. My typical day started from 5 a.m. till midnight, just work. And one day I just woke up and I thought something had to change, and I didn't know what. Luckily, I was driving from one hospital to another, and then Dave Ramsey was on there talking to some lady who was 60 and had no nest egg. And he managed to make her feel better. And by doing that, it gave me hope. And I had my aha moment. And I thought, I just need to get my finances in order so I can live life on my own terms. The current plan, it wasn't working. I mean, I was making lots of money, but I didn't even get to see my kids, So after that, I started reading books. I read Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover, started reading The White Coat Investor, started reading his blog, listening to Dave's podcast, all 3 hours of them every day.
Wow.
I was obsessed, right?
Yes.
And so I started getting my money in order. And then one of the hospitals I rounded at, their hospitalist program imploded. So every month there was a new group of doctors coming in. And being the good specialist that I am, I'm always real friendly with hospitalists. So I used to invite them to my house, and they were like, yeah, we do locums. And some of the guys were new graduates, but they had a plan of, we're going to do locums. We will work super hard for 2 years. make $1 million, invest it in some kind of entrepreneurial venture, and just do a cash-based practice. And I had never heard of anything like that. But they showed me how you could work as a physician on the non-traditional path. And that opened my eyes. And I thought, I could do that, right? The money is good, but the hours were crazy. And seriously, if anybody else worked that many hours and you had to calculate the hourly rate, it might not be that much. Because if average American works that hard, they'll probably make a whole lot more, right?
Right.
So I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. So I started looking for locum jobs. And initially I applied to both nephrology and internal medicine hospitalist locum jobs. However, after doing the nephrology for a while, the pay was way less. And there was nighttime call. It was usually 24-hour call, 7 days straight. And you had to go in the middle of the night. And with the hospitalist, as a internist, I only worked 12-hour shifts. I had nights off and no pagers at home. So I thought of it. It was hard to do, but I decided I'm just gonna have to let nephrology go for now. That was the initial plan. And during that time, I hired a coach, Dr. Philippa Kennelly. She really helped me. Yeah, I call her the godmother of physician coaching. She's been around a while. So she was working with me, and she helped me transition away from nephrology and just do locums as a hospitalist. And since it was shift work, I decided how much I wanted to make for a year and reverse engineer how many shifts I wanted to work every month. So it turned out, 10 shifts a month was okay. And the rest of the time I could spend at home with my kids. And that worked pretty well for me. But I knew that that was not my final destination. Something had to change. So by working with my coach, we explored different entrepreneurial avenues. And initially I was thinking, I love to geek out on money. That's something I could talk about all day. So certified financial planner. I think, is it XY Planning? They have virtual financial planners. And I thought, I want to be one of those because I will have location independence, financial independence. I will be a laptop entrepreneur. That's my dream. However, by the time my coach was done with me, my life was amazing. I had time flexibility, location independence. Definitely my finances had come a long way. I was finally debt free of my, so that emboldened me to step up and become a coach, both in finances and life, because it's more of a holistic approach instead of just focusing on money, because the way you do one thing is how you do everything else. So I went through coach training, became a coach, and then started coaching. So that's how it all started, by working with my coach. I explored different ways of living, and I explored different ways of bringing income in, which was different from the traditional straight path, and found a different way of living. And since then, I've also discovered real estate investing. So I really love that. And I discovered Bigger Pockets podcast. I love podcasts, by the way. Yeah, I found Philippa Kennelly on a podcast too.
Really?
Yeah. I think there's a Physician Freedom Formula podcast. She was on there. Yeah. So I found out about real estate investing in Bigger Pockets. I loved it. And I thought, yeah, I like passive streams as well. And I want multiple streams. So I started saving towards the down payment for small multi-units, because that's about the only knowledge I have is how to do deals for smaller units. I don't know how to do syndications and storages and other things in real estate. I just like to stay in my lane. So last year, I bought my first fourplex with a turnkey company in the Fort Worth area, which is drivable from where I live. And it's been working out well so far. It wasn't easy initially, though. I tried different turnkey companies. Some of them can be scammy, so you really
do your research, definitely.
have to do your research. And there was a deal in Chicago that fell through. Basically, after everything was done, they were like, oh, well, the tenant is in the in your house now, and so come and sign the mortgage and let us get going. And I was like, I wanted inspection, I wanted an appraisal. I didn't have any of that happen. So I just walked away from it. And when it comes to turnkeys, if they won't let you look at a house you're spending your money to buy, and they won't let you do an appraisal, then that's a red flag. You have to walk away. So that's my entrepreneurial journey in a nutshell. Now, most recently, I watched your BootstrapMD conference from San Diego. You had a digital product because I couldn't go. I mean, I snagged it up as soon as you put it out and watched it in the weekend. It was so good. So I highly recommend it, guys. You guys should get it. Seriously.
Yeah, and
really
you were sharing just a little nugget that I just kind of shared at the conference. That was one of your success stories. You want to talk about your Facebook group that you built?
Absolutely, yeah. So during that conference, you casually said, you know, the problem with physicians groups are, a lot of them are scarcity mindset, and there's a lot of micromanaging, and I just wish there was a group that has more of an abundance mindset. And that's something I've been working on personally. So when I heard that, I was like, you know, I think I should do it. And then I kind of ignored it for 2 weeks. And then I was in another group and something happened. I was like, this is a sign. I'm going to start my own. And unfortunately, it's only for women. Sorry, guys. I'm going to start my own and just say, come as you are.
I have some fake but Facebook profiles that
sure, you can get it that way. You can be Michelle if you want.
Yes. Not the first time. No, that's another story.
Yeah, so I was just like, come as you are. This group is for motivation, inspiring. It's more like a think tank where you come in, if you have no ideas, research, get an idea, a creative product or a service, and actually get to sell it in there. Because as physicians, we have high earning potential. We have high spending potential. Why are we not helping each other? Why are we driving the dollars away? Let's bring them home.
That's great. And you said that how many people do you have in your Facebook group?
So it's been about 6 weeks, and it was $9.93 last time I checked.
Oh wow!
So because people feel very free in there, they're inviting their friends to join, and I think we're onto something here. I did not expect that at all. In fact, when I started the group, I didn't think anything was gonna happen because I had another group that sat there and nothing happened. Then the next day I looked, there were 10 people in there. I told my husband, oh my God, there are 10 people in there, what should I do? People are showing up. So then I'm like, you know, let me just show up as myself. That's what I did.
That's perfect. That's all you need, right?
Exactly. That's all you need to have a group.
That's amazing. Yeah, the growth.
Amazing. Yes. And people are making money in there. I have lunch and learns and also takeover Tuesdays where people get to share who they are and they get to pitch their products. One of my favorite moments is when one of the ladies sent me a message like close to midnight, and she was like, I think somebody messaged me. They want to buy something from me. I'm like, yes, right? We're the BNI of physician groups.
So, and we'll leave a link on the podcast. What is the Facebook group called again?
It's called Women Physicians for Multiple Streams of Income.
Women Physicians for Multiple Streams of Income.
Yeah.
Perfect. So thank you for sharing that story. And there's a couple things that I kind of wrote down. One was deciding to use Philip as a coach, or deciding to use a coach in general.
Yes.
One of the things that I talk about with doctors is, we tend to have control issues. We tend to, it's kind of scary. I don't know if it's fear. I don't know if it's ego, but we tend to not want to seek a coach, especially if it's a non-physician. Did you have any trepidation to that, and what actually led you to deciding to, I need to help someone coach me and helps point me into the right direction?
Once again, it goes back to podcasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
After I discovered Dave's podcast, it kind of led to, how iTunes, they recommend other podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I started listening to them, and most of the high achievers out there had coaches. They all did. And during interviews, you would hear people like explain why they were able to 10x in the year instead of 10 because they had coaches. And so I was thinking, that's what I need. I need somebody to help me. Now, I wanted a physician though. So most of the coaches that were on the podcast that I was listening to at the time were non-physicians. So when Philippa showed up, I quickly called her and the rest was history. I mean, she had a client before I even talked to her because I was like, she can help me and I don't have to explain burnout and everything that happened and why I quit the nephrology. I wanted to quit the nephrology job and all of that. She will get me. And that's what happened. Like, I didn't have to explain anything to her because she got it. Yeah. And
then another, your story is familiar, for most, that many physicians, as have gone through the burnout.
Yeah.
They've gone through, the hospital, not getting paid what they're worth.
Yeah.
But very few to actually go out and do it. And one of the things is an obstacle for many physicians is they're worried about what their colleagues will say or their family will say. Did you have any issue with that when you decided to leave your nephrology job?
I did. If it wasn't for my coach, I don't think that decision would have been easy to make. But initially I was scared to tell her because I felt she was probably going to judge me. Mm-hmm. Right? So,
your coach judged you?
Yes, I was worried that she was going to judge me. So I didn't want to tell her. But when I finally did, being the good coach that she is, she supported me, right? So a lot of times we're scared of what other people will think of us, or we're scared of being ostracized because we dare to be ourselves. So I think that's a big part of it. And I must say my mom and my husband did not get it. They did get it for a while. It's just recently that they're like, oh, well, I guess she's going to be doing whatever she wants, and we better get along with the program. So they're like, yeah, we want a full-time doctor in a traditional role. So what's happening here? So my coach gave me the best advice. She was just like, give yourself permission to do what's right for you. And don't worry so much about other people's opinion. The opinion that matters is yours. And that's such great advice. And I give that to my clients all the time. It's the only opinion that matters is yours. Because if you worry about other people and you burn yourself out and you stay in there, physician suicide and depression and anxiety, all these things, is because people are not listening to themselves. They're trying to please others, and that leads to more suffering. So if there's one advice I would like to share, the same advice my coach gave me, dare to be you. It's okay if other people don't like you because you're being yourself. That's your problem. It's not your problem.
That's true. And another thing too is, because I had this, many years ago when I left corporate medicine, was I was concerned that, what my colleagues would say.
Yeah.
And what we think. And what I realized is they really weren't thinking about me personally. Sure. They were thinking about themselves, and maybe in a sense, and I think maybe it was envy at the time, because they were all getting burnt out, but they were saying things like, what's he doing? Is he going through a midlife crisis? 34, I think is when it happened. But really, they were just kind of thinking about themselves. And it's funny, some of the doctors who actually, kind of poo-poo me actually leaving came back and actually wanted me to have them as an apprentice. and starting
Wow.
like an online business or something like so.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And I think doctors, we do tend to worry about people who really, unfortunately, they're not really thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves. So when you made that decision, had you already started a locums job, or did you have like a nest egg of money that was that you could ride on them when you
So,
decided to
yeah,
make the leap?
when I decided to make the leap, it was after discovering Dave Ramsey. So I put a nice cushion away
Mm-hmm.
about 6 months and before I quit my job. And I gave a 6 months notice as well to my job. So during that time, I was saving all the money and looking for locum jobs. And luckily, as soon as my job ended, I had a locum assignment lined up. It's easy to get locums, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have a degree and you're willing to work. Some recruiter wants you because they're going to make money that way. So
Right.
it got, I had 2 locum jobs lined up real quick. And as long as you wanted to travel, because initially I used to travel like 4 hours from home and my kids were little.
Mm-hmm.
So my husband was in pharmacy school at Purdue, which was not far from where I was doing my locum. So we used to travel together as a family and we could do fun stuff on assignments. But as they got older and they started school, it was hard to do. But yeah, it was pretty easy to get a locum assignment.
Now you're in Dallas now, is that correct?
I'm
So
in
you're
Dallas
not in
now. I'm not in Indiana anymore. So part of my transformation led me to a warmer climate and a no income tax state. So that's how I ended up here.
Okay, well, hey, that's true. I mean, and you can get a bigger house there.
Exactly.
I'm here in San Diego, and I've got some good friends who moved to Dallas, and they showed me how much their house they had compared to mine, and how much cheaper it was than my house.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Even like around the same time that I was thinking, there's another podcast by Joshua Sheet, and it's called Radical Personal Finance, and he's the one that I got the idea from, like the tax-free states, and I looked at them, and Florida and Texas were on there, but I thought, I don't want to deal with hurricanes, so I'm just going to go to Texas. So that's why I came here. And one of my coaches, her name is Brooke Castillo, she's from California, and she moved here for the same reason. And I discovered her on her podcast around the same time. I was like, that's a sign. Brooke is going to Dallas, and I'm going. So Mike, Texas is open for business. Come on down.
No, until they have an ocean until they have an ocean in Texas, probably not yet. But what's interesting though is
we do have oceans here, but the beaches are not beautiful.
That's right. Well, there's no oceans around Dallas the last time I checked. So
Sure.
So that's interesting. So you have multiple coaches. So you have different.
I've had
what
different
coaches you've had.
So I started with Philippa, and then during coach training, I had a mentor coach. And then after that, after coach training, I needed to build my entrepreneurial skills because it really sucked. And so I got Brooke Castillo because she's a life coach that's making multiple 7 figures. So it's always good to get somebody who's doing what you want to do. And so I started working with her. And then I worked with another business mindset coach, right? Like Dr. Maisha says, get your mind right. I had to get my mind right so I could get out of my own way and build my business.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And that's something, getting your mind right and getting out of your own way. That's something that it's difficult to master. I still do that every single day,
Yes.
The obstacles that we put in front of us, and I've done some pretty amazing things in my life, but there's still some things that I have, like why I have to step back and say, why am I putting obstacles on something like this? But just a constant reminder to be aware of that. But yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. Absolutely. That's why I think I always have a coach, though. Really,
right.
It works and it helps me go faster. Why not?
Yeah, it's the shortcut to success. Somebody
it definitely is.
Follow somebody who's already been there, done that. Don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Yes.
I was looking at your Twitter feed,
Yeah.
and some of the names that you've been retweeting. It's like a who's who in personal development. You got Maria Forleo. I saw Hal Edrod with The Miracle Morning. Great book, by the way. I love it.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah. And how important is personal development to you? Is it something that you had in medical school, or was that after residency? Did you kind of find this genre?
I was kind of aware of it. Truth be told, when I was an undergrad, I bought some Tony Robbins tapes and returned them. That was as close as I got to it. And then, I was just caught up in the rat race, and I didn't really think anything of personal development. When I was feeling burnt out, I started slowly getting back in touch with personal development, and podcasts played a big role in that, and books played a big role. And so that's how I started. The Miracle Morning was the first book that I read, and till this day, I always have my hour of power in the morning, and all my coaching clients do the same, because I had no idea that self-care even was a thing. So I was going and going and wearing myself out. So it's become part of my lifestyle. Like Zig Ziglar says, motivation and self-help, it's like taking a shower. If you don't take a shower, you're gonna stink. Same thing, like thinking is gonna create problems for you. So you have to be aware that you gotta take care of that part. Because if you don't take care of the mindset part and you have the best laid plans, guess who's gonna get in the way? Our squirrel toddler brain. Is going to get in the way. So it's good to have that awareness and be intentional about managing the mind and then able to do things. And you can feel the fear and still do it, knowing that you're not going to die. Because like you were saying, even at your level of success, you still go through that. It's never really goes away. You just have to have the skill set to manage it and have the awareness to know what's happening when it does happen. Because in the past, I had no clue what was happening. I knew some days were bad, some days were good, but I had no clue. But now, at least if I'm having a bad day, I know maybe I need to journal and find out what's going on in that brain of mine so I can take care of it. So it's really big and something that I do every day. And books are a big part of it.
In your hour of power, so if you don't know it, it's a book called The Miracle Morning, and what he recommends is to kick in an hour of kind of checking yourself. One important component of that is meditation,
yes,
or prayer, or whatever you feel. Do you meditate as part of it?
I do meditate, yeah. So I use all the Savers acronym that our teaches. So I do meditate. Now I must say that was a recent thing. Like I started doing that last year. And I'm not that good at it. I use guided meditation, the Calm app. I heard LeBron James uses it, so I got it, and it's fantastic. If it's good for the king, it's good for me, right?
Okay. I'm a Warrior fan, so I'm not talking about basketball right now. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys had a bad year. Come on.
We'll move on, yeah. But I respect the king.
Yes. So I started using that, and I use that every day to help keep me accountable. When I do it in the morning, you get a little quote that pops up, and I share it on Instagram as a way of keeping me accountable. But I do all the acronym. I don't know if you want me to go through the acronym for the hour, the Savers, right? So S is for silence, and silence is meditation and prayer. I do both. I'm greedy, right? Why not do both if it makes you feel great? A is for affirmations, and the V is for visualization. That's something I'm not good at. I'm still working on. But in the last year, I've gotten better, and it's actually transformed things for me. Being able to visualize yourself as your future self and see the way you want things to be. And E is for exercise. That's something that I started doing as soon as I started working with Philippa, and I haven't stopped since because it makes me feel great. It's not for, it's more for mental wellness than losing weight. I just use diet for that. And then R is for reading something positive, and I'm always reading good books. And if you're religious, you could use the Bible, the Quran, whatever you want. And S is for scribing, which is journaling, and I do that every day. Every night I journal. So I do the hour of power, but I don't do journaling till nighttime. I know some people like to do it in the morning, but I save that for night because I reflect on my day, see what worked, what didn't work, and then come up with a plan for what I can do differently. One of my coaches taught me that. That way you feel like life doesn't always go as planned. That's expected, but you can do something about it. So you're not a victim, you're not stuck. So I like to do that and come up with my solutions and take them for a spin, see how they work out. And then I plan my day that evening. I do the block scheduling of, I make a to-do list and then assign times to them for the next day. So I have a vision of what my next day is going to look like and follow it. So when I don't do that, my days I can lose things, I can forget things. So I like to do that. Yeah.
That's good. That's interesting. So your productivity, I'm also a big productivity hack. So I'm always curious as to what other people do. I'm also a pen and paper in terms of that. So I have a little bullet journal that I use here.
Nice.
But I've gone through everything. I've got planners, I've got paper planners, I've done electronic, I've used the Todoist app, I've used all those different types of electronic apps and used Trello. I've used all those different things. Do you use any other type of productivity hacks or apps that you use to help plan your day?
I use the Pomodoro technique sometimes where you set the timer for 30 minutes, take like a 15-minute break. So I use that sometimes, but for me, really calendaring and blocking of time is what works best for me, where I have my to-do list and then I assign time to it, and then I honor my word to myself. Right? So for example, if 12 to 1, it's my time to exercise. If somebody calls me, I'll be like, oh, I have a meeting at that time, right? I have a meeting with myself. So it's important that I do that. So I follow that to the T. Of course, I'm human. It's not always perfect, but then I have a backup plan for if I don't follow it, what's the backup plan? And then I do that. So by knowing that, if I have a list and I block calendar it, it's as good as done because I'm going to do it. I don't spend as much as like I used to because I know it's going to get done. So
that's thank you for sharing. I think it's really important, especially for, the many of us who are, we're doing the multiple streams of income. We're working, you're working locums, you've got coaching clients, you're doing your real estate.
Yeah.
And, so we're doing, 5, 10 different, activities. And one of the things that your website is, I believe it's MD Work-Life Balance.
Yes.
Right there. Now I'm going to press you a little bit because I've said there's no such thing as work-life balance. So to prove me wrong in here that you can do work-life balance.
Well, I always say it depends on how you define it.
That's good.
Give yourself the liberty to define it whichever way you want it. Now, if you define it as 50-50, then good luck. Let me know. If it works, call me.
Let me know.
Yeah. But my reframe is, what does work-life balance mean to you? And then go do you. That's it. There are seasons where you're going to be working like a dog, and that's okay. And there are seasons that you can cut back, but you can't go by the math and say 50% of the time I'm going to work and 50 I'm not. It's just, what does balance mean to you? For me, that means being able to spend more time with my kids. So that's why I restructured my career in a way where I'm able to drop them off at school, pick them up, be there for their homework and all their activities. One of the calendaring things I do when I plan 6 months ahead, the kids' schedule and my husband's stuff go on the calendar first. before I add any work-related activities. So that's how I'm able to achieve balance. So I don't miss any of the crucial stuff, but I'm also doing the stuff I need to do for my career because of the way I'm planning it. So I hope that helps, but I agree with you. If you're saying it's 50-50, then I don't know, that does not exist.
And then, but then also too, when we're talking about work is,
yes,
you're now in the envious position about it's work for the most part, you're in control of.
yes,
You're in control of, for the most part, where you're, when you want to do locums, you're in the control
yes,
of when you want to schedule your clients to coach them. You know, when do you want to work on your real estate for the most part,
yeah,
which is, for me, the biggest benefit of being an entrepreneur is to have that control, where unfortunately our colleagues, they don't have that control. You know, majority of our colleagues are an employee of some hospital or big corporation. What do you think, for those who are listening, who are in that position, they're burnt out, they're working right now, and they're not seeing a vision out there, what would the first maybe one or two things that you could recommend to them, to be in a time in their life like yours where you're now in control of it? What would you recommend to help them?
So, yeah. And also I wanted to add, most recently, I added a fourth stream of income where I'm with the myriad direct sales company. That's a skincare and wellness company.
Oh, wonderful.
And I used to poo-poo direct sales until I started my group and I saw the women in there making multiple six figures, killing it. And I was like, oh, I want in. And it's worked out great.
Perfect.
So it's a good time to be a doctor with a phone, period. You don't even need a laptop to be entrepreneurial these days. So entrepreneurship is a viable option. With that, the income potential is limitless. So if you're in a job and you just don't like it, you're not stuck. You're not a tree. You can move. But the first move has to happen in the brain. You have to have an open mind and say, maybe this is not working and I need to do something different. It could mean that that dream job you want is out there. So start looking for it until you find it. Some people jump from one bad job to another because you're running away, but decide what kind of job you want and look for it. It exists. It might take longer, but you'll get it. Now, I'm all for entrepreneurship, so I'm biased that way. But working from home as a physician, for the women physicians in your audience, it's also very viable right now. Where now, truth be told, I haven't worked outside the home in like the last 6 months, right? I'm just doing coaching and telemedicine from home. So whatever you want, you can achieve it. Just put your mind to it and go for it. And if you feel stuck, get a coach. They can help you. And get somebody that's done something that you want to do. It makes it much easier. Not only can they coach you, they can also serve as a mentor. But medicine, traditional medicine, is not the only path. Look at Dr. Mike, you have a cash-based practice. That's something that's really big right now. And personally, I don't like working out of the home, but if I did, that is the model I'll be going for, where you cut out all the stressors. Most doctors love their patients. They love their families. They want more time with their families, more time with their patients. They're not getting either of them right now in traditional medicine. But by doing the DPC model, you get control and you can have that. And people are making good money. Sorry about that. They're making good money with that. So there are many models out there that can get you out of a conundrum. So entrepreneurship, number one. Number two, the dream job is out there. Go find it. Don't just complain, right? That never solved any problems. Number three, you could be a laptop entrepreneur. It's viable and available. If I can do it, anybody can do it. You just have to give it time. Have a plan and stick to it. And if you don't know where to start, get a coach. I can't stress that enough, right? Or work with somebody like Dr. Mike, who's been there, done that. So not only can he coach you, he can be a mentor. And direct sales, I used to poo-poo it. But now I'm like, it works, right? I'm in New York, and it's been 6 weeks, the same time frame as when my group started, because I was having virtual coffee with a lot of them. I'm an introvert, so that works better for me. Mm-hmm. That's how I network. Like, hey, I like your vibe. Could we chat on Zoom? And we chat. Mm-hmm. So I signed up and I moved up 6 ranks, and I'll be getting a Lexus car bonus this month. I didn't see Lexus in my future, but suddenly there's going to be one in my driveway soon.
All right.
So there's so many options. Just keep an open mind, explore, and test things out, and transition out of whatever it is you don't like, and do more of what you like. Don't sell yourself short. If you don't go for what you want, you will never get it. But if you do, you're going to get it. So
this has been very inspiring, Nana. I really appreciate it. I've interviewed a lot of doctors, and there are very few. You might be the first one to say that the opportunity is limitless, and it really is. I've mentioned that doctors, I think, have a scarcity mindset, so it's really refreshing to hear that perspective from a fellow clinician. So, Nana, thank you again for joining me on this podcast. If they want to get more information about you, either your coaching programs, some of the products you may have, where can they go?
So my website, mdworklifebalance.com for the coaching, and also my Facebook group, Women Physicians for Multiple Streams of Income. I also have an MD Work-Life Balance Facebook page that people can like.
Perfect. Thank you again, Nana. And thank you guys for listening and watching the podcast. Just go out there and do it. There's limitless jobs that are out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. Find the one that you like. Start 1, 3, 4, whatever you want to do. Telemedicine is out there. Create your own products, courses, real estate, direct sales, you name it, it's out there for it. You just have to go out there and, as always, guys, keep moving forward.
I agree.